The movie kicks off with Juliet running through the bustling streets of New York City. She's a dedicated emergency room doctor at Brooklyn General Hospital, handling high-stakes, life-or-death situations daily. Honestly, she thrives in the chaos. It's the only place she can truly escape the wreckage of her personal life. Desperate to get away from her cheating ex-boyfriend, Jack, Juliet spends the next day hunting for a new apartment. After touring a claustrophobic, microscopic unit, she stumbles upon a gorgeous, spacious loft with a breathtaking view. The landlord, a charming man named Max, is renting it for a surprisingly low $3,800. Shocked by the bargain, Juliet asks what the catch is. Max claims there isn't one, aside from some occasional noise from the nearby train tracks. For a woman used to the non-stop clamor of an ER, a little train noise is nothing. She signs the lease on the spot. Max has just one strict rule: no pets. Seeking a fresh start with absolutely nothing to remind her of her past, Juliet moves in with only a few belongings. Soon, she meets Max's elderly grandfather, August, who lives in the same building. Everything seems picture-perfect, and Max and Juliet quickly hit it off, developing an easy, warm friendship. That night, however, reality sets in. The train noise is deafening, violently shaking everything in the room. The tremor passes quickly, but as Juliet drifts off to sleep, the chilling sound of a creaking door jolts her awake. She scans the darkness, overwhelmed by a sudden, heavy feeling that someone is standing in the room with her. Trying to rationalize it, she tells herself it's just an old building with shifting floorboards. But as she turns away, a shadowy figure remains hidden in the pitch black. The next morning, Juliet finds a small welcome gift left by her door. Back at the hospital, she throws herself into another grueling shift, grateful for the distraction. It keeps her from obsessing over Jack, the man she loved, who shattered her heart by cheating on her in their own bed. After work, Juliet runs into Max and thanks him for the thoughtful gift. Max looks confused and clarifies that it wasn't from him. It was from his grandfather, August. Juliet is touched, but a nagging sense of unease begins to creep in. The following day, Juliet's coworker, Sydney, convinces her to attend an art show. While they are there, Max randomly runs into her. Sydney thinks he's incredibly charming, and Juliet asks Max to walk her home. He happily obliges. On their way back, they stop for coffee, completely missing the fact that Jack is lurking nearby, watching them. Max walks her all the way to her apartment door. They share a brief kiss on the cheek, but when Juliet leans in to take it to the next step, Max abruptly pulls away. Feeling embarrassed and misreading the signals, Juliet awkwardly shuts the door. A little while later, Juliet prepares a relaxing bath, completely unaware of the terrifying truth. The walls are riddled with hidden peepholes. On the other side of a dark vent, someone has a perfect, voyeuristic view of her most private moments. As she submerges her head underwater, a passing train rumbles through, knocking her wine glass over and spilling it across the floor. Afterward, she hears a strange noise, rushes to her bedroom window, and is startled when it violently snaps shut on its own. Terrified, she retreats to her bed. The next day, Jack calls again. This time, Juliet finally answers. He pours his heart out, apologizing and begging to meet up, but she cuts him short, claiming she has to leave. Immediately after, Max calls to invite her to dinner at his place. She accepts. Over dinner, Max is incredibly charming but admits he struggles with socializing. It's an intimate, pleasant evening, and Max walks her back to her unit. Sensing a spark, Juliet tries to move things to the next level, and they begin to passionately kiss. Suddenly, the movie shifts perspective, rewinding to the very beginning to reveal the horrifying reality. We see Juliet working in the ER weeks prior. Max is there alongside August, who has just suffered a stroke. But Max isn't paying attention to his dying grandfather. His eyes are entirely locked onto Juliet. He catches a glimpse of her name tag, and an obsession is born. Later, while still at the hospital, Max spots a flyer Juliet posted looking for an apartment. He tears off her phone number and the trap is set. Their accidental meetings at the apartment and the art show were meticulously orchestrated. Max had followed her in a taxi, tracking her every move and pretending to bump into her. Even the almost kiss they shared was a calculated move. After she closed her door that night, Max didn't leave. He retreated into the building's hidden, labyrinthine crawlspaces. Through the vents, he watched her every move. He had quietly slipped into her apartment, hid in the shadows, crawled under her bed, and even slid into the sheets beside her while she slept. Every single time, Juliet felt like someone was watching her. It wasn't her imagination. It was real. Back in the present moment, as they are making out on the bed, Juliet suddenly panics. Guilt-ridden over Jack, she tells Max she just isn't ready to be with anyone else. Max plays it completely cool, acting understanding as he leaves. But the moment he is alone in the dark corridors, his rejection turns into pure, boiling rage. He wants her no matter the cost. In a fit of anger, he takes a nail gun and wooden boards, sealing off one of the hallway entryways to hide his tracks. Later, Max tends to August, giving him his medication. August isn't blind. He knows exactly how deeply disturbed his grandson is. He taunts Max, calling him weak just like his father. Old newspaper clippings reveal a dark family secret. Max's father murdered his mother before taking his own life. Enraged but trapped by duty, Max continues to care for the dying old man. The next day, Juliet meets Max at a cafe to apologize for freezing up the night before. Max casually suggests that sleeping together might not be a good idea anyway, noting that crossing the line between landlord and tenant could get messy. Juliet agrees, relieved that they are on the same page. Inside, however, Max is secretly furious that she agreed to call it off so easily. That night, Max breaks through a hidden section of the wall. He creeps into her bedroom while she sleeps and leans in to kiss her. When she stirs and turns away, he retreats, accidentally stepping on a loud floorboard. The noise wakes Juliet. Hearing strange sounds coming from the kitchen, she investigates. Max watches her through a peephole hidden inside her kitchen cupboard. Puzzled, Juliet steps inside the cupboard, pushes against the back wall, and it gives way, revealing a massive, secret crawl space. The next morning, she tells Max about the hidden door. Max acts like the perfect gentleman, promising to repair it while she's at work. Calling him a lifesaver, Juliet leaves. The moment she's gone, Max's behavior turns deeply unhinged. He vandalizes her apartment, uses her toothbrush, and behaves disruptively in her bathtub. Meanwhile, at work, Jack sends Juliet a flurry of apologetic text messages. She doesn't reply, but a small smile hints that she's softening. When Juliet returns home with groceries, Max is waiting to help her. She feels visibly uncomfortable around him now. Sensing her shift in energy, Max drops the nice guy act. He aggressively reminds her that she was the one who kissed him first. Juliet defensively replies that people kiss to see if they're a match. Max coldly responds that he doesn't play those games, and she shouldn't either, before storming off. Left shaken and deeply worried, Juliet prepares dinner that evening. Max watches her from a hidden vantage point in the kitchen. When Juliet gets a text and goes into the bathroom to freshen up, Max slips into the apartment to check her phone. Suddenly, Jack arrives unannounced with his dog. Max barely manages to hide in time. The dog immediately senses Max's presence and begins aggressively barking at the kitchen cabinets. Over dinner, Jack and Juliet discuss their past. Jack blames their breakup on her working too much, which catches her off guard. But then, Jack humbles himself, takes accountability, and begs for another chance. Juliet relents, giving in to her lingering feelings. They sleep together, entirely unaware that Max is standing right behind a two-way mirror in the bathroom, watching their entire reconciliation in a jealous rage. After Jack takes his dog and leaves, Juliet heads to the kitchen to grab another glass of wine. Max seizes the opportunity, slipping out from the shadows to inject a heavy sedative into her wine bottle with a syringe. Within minutes, Juliet passes out into a drug-induced slumber. Max crawls out from under the bed, completely controlling her environment. The next morning, Juliet oversleeps, something she has never done in her career. She wakes up feeling profoundly exhausted. As a medical professional, she knows her body. Sleeping this heavily for weeks makes zero medical sense. Suspicious that she might be losing her mind, she purchases hidden security cameras. She sets one up facing her bed and another tracking the front door, both programmed to record only when they detect motion. At the same time, Max decides he is done taking care of his grandfather. He smothers August, suffocating him to eliminate the burden. Later that day, Max forces himself into a tense dinner with Juliet and Jack. After they part ways, Max stalks Jack onto a deserted bridge, blindsides him, and brutally pushes him down a massive flight of concrete stairs. When Juliet gets home, she rushes to check her camera footage. To her disappointment, there's nothing unusual, just footage of her leaving and coming back. Frustrated, she pours a glass of wine, unknowingly drinking the spiked vintage, and collapses into a deep sleep. Max immediately enters. He begins to act on his darkest, assaultive urges, but the physical contact jolts Juliet partially awake. Terrified and disoriented, she tries to fight, but Max quickly injects her with more sedatives, forcing her eyes shut. Max breaks down in tears, weeping over his own weakness and self-hatred. The next morning, Juliet wakes up late yet again. But this time, she spots a vital clue on the floor, a discarded needle cap. Recognizing it instantly, she heads straight to the hospital to run a comprehensive toxicology screen on her own blood. While she's at work, Max makes himself at home in her apartment, cradling one of her dresses and lying on her bed. Suddenly, Jack walks in, his arm in a sling from the bridge attack. He notices the structural anomalies and discovers the hidden door in the kitchen cupboard. Before he can react, Max ambushes him from behind, and a violent struggle ensues. Back at the hospital, Juliet receives her lab results. The diagnosis is terrifying. Her blood is saturated with massive, dangerous doses of a powerful pharmaceutical sleep sedative. Panic-stricken, she tries calling Jack, but it goes straight to voicemail. She leaves a frantic message telling him to stay away from the apartment and rushes home. The loft appears empty, but she notices a shopping bag Jack brought with him. Desperate for answers, she pulls the memory cards from her hidden security cameras and plugs them into her computer. What she sees leaves her paralyzed with horror. The footage shows Max creeping out from under her bed, drugging her, and violating her while she was unconscious. At that exact moment, the front door clicks open. It's Max carrying a bottle of wine. Trying to keep her composure, Juliet forces a calm facade and sits down beside him. Max raises a glass to celebrate their friendship, but Juliet refuses to touch it, knowing it's poisoned. She desperately tries to dial Jack on her phone, but Max snatches it from her hand. The mask completely drops. Max accuses her of being unfaithful and disloyal. Juliet bolts for the exit, but Max's raw strength overwhelms her. She fights back like a caged animal, managing to gain the upper hand for a split second, but Max recovers, dodges her next strike, and maneuvers her into a room, slamming the door and locking her inside. Trapped, Juliet realizes she has to play smart. She feigns weakness and compliance, hoping to make him lower his guard. The moment he unlocks the door, she shoves him with all her might and sprints into the bathroom, locking herself inside. She peers through a crack in the door, but suddenly, Max violently pounds on the wood. The mirror shatters as Max smashes straight through the drywall, grabbing her through the framework. Looking through the gaping hole, Juliet finally sees the terrifying scope of his operation. The entire apartment building is a hollow labyrinth designed to spy on her. Juliet stops running. Fueled by adrenaline, she spots Max's heavy-duty industrial nail gun. It's time to end this. Max tracks her down into the crawl spaces, cornering her and crying that he never wanted it to end this way. Juliet doesn't care. She pulls the trigger. A heavy nail slams into Max, but powered by sheer psychosis, he keeps advancing. Juliet flees through the narrow, dark corridors, stumbling upon the gruesome, lifeless body of Jack. Grief and fury take over. Max confronts her one last time, pinning her down. Juliet doesn't hold back. Pressing the nail gun directly against him, she fires repeatedly. This time, the monstrous landlord drops, falling through the floorboards to the depths below. As Juliet stands breathing in the wreckage of the hidden walls, the distant, comforting wail of police sirens grows louder and louder, racing toward the building. And that is the end of the movie.